You ever watch 8 months of your own blood, sweat, and history just melt away in 30 seconds while the smell of spray paint stings your nose and you realize it wasn't some random act of vandalism, but an official HOA notice tucked right under your wiper? That was me standing there in my pajamas at dawn, staring at red paint dripping down the side of my '65 Rolls Royce like blood from a fresh wound, the kind of scene that'd make any car lover sick. But this wasn't just a bad dream. Nope. There it was, official notice, vehicle removed for code violations. Contact Brenda Kensington for retrieval information. On my own property after I'd put nearly every waking hour for the last 8 months into dragging that rust bucket back from the dead, turning it into a $200,000 showpiece, and Brenda, my delightful HOA president, had the nerve to treat it like junk and try to steal it right out from under me with a stack of paperwork. Now, before you ask what I did, let me back up a sec, because if you think this is just about a car, you don't know HOAs like I do. 6 months earlier, I was just Marcus Holloway, 58, retired machinist living in the thick silence after losing my wife Elena to cancer, drowning in memories and wondering what to do with all those empty hours. That's when I found the rolls hidden under a crust of dust in my neighbor's garage after he passed. Picked over by estate vultures for a song, $8,000 for what looked like a tomb on wheels engine, seized mice nesting in the seats, and a smell that'd knock you sideways. But even through the grime, I could see the beauty underneath. It wasn't about the money, it was about purpose, maybe even about hope. So I had it dropped off at my place in Maplewood Estates, thinking I could wrench my way back to something like peace. The day it arrived, I barely had time to picture the restoration when I heard the distinct click-clack of high heels on concrete right up my driveway. Enter Brenda. Imagine every stereotype you've ever seen in a real estate brochure: perfect hair, business, casual, smartphone and clipboard held like weapons. She had that "I peaked in high school and never recovered" look, already snapping photos of my car before she'd even introduced herself. "I'm Brenda, the HOA president. That vehicle is in violation of our aesthetic standards. It had been there less than 20 minutes. You've got 72 hours to move it," she said, handing me a citation like it was a parking ticket. Now, the thing about these HOAs, most of them are built on copy-pasted rules. Nobody's read since Reagan was president. I knew enough to ask for the original documents, not just the printout they hand you. She didn't care. Daily fines begin Thursday. But I noticed something in her eyes, something hungry, almost like she wanted the car for herself. And sure enough, after she walked away, I caught her doing slow loops around my block in her white BMW, always pausing to study the rolls like she was casing the place. The next week was a parade of nonsense. Every day, a new citation, commercial vehicle, storage noise, improper waste cardboard boxes in the trash, you name it. I racked up $400 in fines by Friday just for trying to put my life back together. And every evening there, she was circling in her BMW watching. At first, I thought she was just power tripping. But then my neighbor Jerry stopped by, said Brenda had called him, grilling him about my auto shop, like she was writing a police report. It clicked. She wasn't just finding violations, she was inventing them, building a file on me. So I started fighting back. Spent a weekend buried in Washington state law. Found out about the hobby restoration exemption. You get 180 days to restore a car on your own property. No permit needed, as long as it's not a business. Monday, I appealed every citation quoted. The law sent it to the whole board, Brenda's realty office, and the property manager for good measure. Her answer: another citation for hazardous material storage because I had a single quart of Valvoline in my garage, but I kept working. The next morning, I wheeled out my engine hoist and got to work cracking bolts on that V8, 30 years of sludge rust and memory spilling out. Within an hour, I had an audience. Jerry, Tom from across the street, even old Mrs. Patterson with her poodle. Word spreads fast when you're not just mowing the lawn. And right on cue, Brenda rolled by phone out documenting every move. Then came the twist. Wednesday City Code Enforcement at my door. Clipboard badge, the whole deal. Said they'd had 19 complaints in 2 weeks, all from the same concerned neighbor Brenda, obviously. This isn't commercial activity, he told me, and frankly, she's wasting city resources. She'd crossed a line, filing false reports, real harassment with a paper trail. Her next move hit where it hurt my wallet. Anonymous report to my insurance claiming I was running an unlicensed business. Policy flagged. Took 3 hours to clear it up, but the damage was done. Then Jerry came over. Brenda had been asking about my finances, whether I seemed stable after losing Elena. That wasn't HOA enforcement, that was reconnaissance. Saturday, I found out why. A real estate flyer showed up Brenda's face listings and fine print about avoiding problematic properties. She was using my project as a boogeyman to scare folks into selling or at least drum up business. The next day, Mrs. Patterson told me Brenda had been asking about my mental health. In Washington, if an HOA can prove an owner is unstable, they can force a sale. Brenda was gunning for my house, not just my car. Monday, the twist got deeper. 2 guys from Adult Protective Services investigating a report about my well-being. They left shaking their heads. Whoever called this in is wasting our time. But every bogus call was now in an official record. Brenda's nuclear move arrived the next day, a legal letter, 27 violations, $3,200 in fines, threat of foreclosure. Worse attached were surveillance photos, close-ups through my garage windows. I called Elena's old lawyer, Jim. Textbook harassment, he said. She's trying to force a sale. But half these violations don't even exist. As he dug into the legal mess I buried myself in, finishing the rolls. 3 months, 60 grand in parts, and enough cussing to make a sailor blush, but when I turned that key and heard all 12 cylinders rumble, it was worth every sleepless night. But Brenda wasn't done. She started showing people evidence of chemical hazards. That's when I caught her on my own security camera, trying my garage door at midnight, criminal trespassing, plain and simple. The next morning, police at my door for illegal dumping, another anonymous report, more wasted time, nothing found. She was running out of moves, but so was I. Or so she thought. What Brenda didn't know was that I documented every bolt, every receipt, every email, decades of habit from working on airplanes. Jim found the golden ticket in the original HOA documents. Restoration for vehicles over 25 years old was explicitly protected. Everything she cited me for legal under her own rules. Then Jim called with the real kicker. He'd looked into Brenda's finances. She was leveraged to the hilt, betting everything on property values rising. My car, my blue-collar hobby threatened the image. She needed to get her loans. And then the big twist. Tom came over, admitted Brenda offered him $500 to sign a petition against me. 3 neighbors took the money. She was buying complaints to prop up her scheme. The smoking gun, my mailman caught her photographing my packages, claiming postal violations. That's a federal crime, folks. And then Jim dug up 2 past investigations into Brenda for using HOA power to pressure owners into selling low. Both settled quietly, but now the state was watching her. My case triggered a 3rd probe, so I organized, spread my evidence across Elena's old dining table. Tom and Jerry, yeah, I know, brought their own logs, security footage notes. Half the neighborhood had stories. Turns out nobody likes a bully. When I finally took the rolls out for a spin, neighbors waved, gave thumbs up, even snapped photos, public opinion shifting fast. Jim discovered a clause in state law, HOA, leaders filing false reports can be removed immediately and victims can recover legal fees. I gathered 8 families with statements about Brenda's harassment and selective enforcement targeting only the properties she wanted to flip. The final straw, Brenda tried to have my car towed as abandoned. The tow driver took one look, laughed, and walked away. She wasn't done. She offered Jerry a cash buyout for his house, tried to scare supporters into selling before her scam unraveled. Even reached out to Elena's old doctor, fishing for dirt on my mental health, hoping to build a forced sale case. And then in broad daylight, Brenda trespassed in my backyard, photographing my garbage, trying to provoke me. I kept my cool. Called the cops, documented everything. The next day, she bombarded state agencies with environmental complaints, then created a fake community protection committee to try to make it all look official. She even slashed my Civic's tires and chalked last warning on the driveway. But the real plot: Tom found my lot had been quietly rezoned for commercial development. Someone had already filed for shopping center permits. Guess who the real estate rep was, Brenda? Every move she'd made was to force me out, flip my house, and make a killing. Sunday night, my security caught her in my yard with a surveyor measuring for development. Monday night, the HOA meeting was standing room only, news crews in the back. Brenda tried to run the show, but the room turned on her. Mrs. Patterson called out her violations. I laid out every documented instance of harassment, fake reports, financial conflict of interest, all cross-referenced and projected for the whole neighborhood to see. When Brenda tried to play the mental health card, the room erupted. Then Jerry stood up, played a recording of her offering cash for dirt on me. That's when the sheriff stepped in, arrested Brenda on the spot for mail tampering, filing false reports, conspiracy to commit real estate fraud. The sound of those handcuffs was sweeter than the purr of my rolls. 6 months later, Brenda pled guilty to everything. 18 months probation, $50,000 restitution, and she lost her real estate license. But the real win was watching our neighborhood come back to life. New board, real community coffee gatherings, car shows, even a scholarship for kids wanting to learn a trade funded by the YouTube channel. I started documenting the restoration. 3 weeks ago, a new neighbor showed up, asked me to help him with his grandfather's Camaro, and as his daughter handed me wrenches, I thought, yeah, Elena would have loved this. A neighborhood of people fixing things instead of tearing each other down. That's real victory. So what would you have done? Drop your location, share your own HOA horror stories, or tell me what you think about justice and revenge. And if you like seeing bullies get what's coming, hit subscribe, leave a comment, and stick around, because there's always another Brenda out there and another dream worth fighting for.